Hi, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing actually something that a person on Instagram asked me to do, and that is recommending books to Monster High characters. I don't have a lot of Monster High dolls currently. I have a lot of specific characters, but not a lot of characters. So there's going to be a couple duplicates from each generation. But here we go, let's get started. And we're going to start with Draculaura. So right here I have the Draculaura that I chose from Generation 1. She's probably my favorite from G1. I don't have her wings anymore. It's been a long time since I've had her wings, and I've had her for a really long time since this doll first came out. But I love Generation 1 Draculaura. She is a fair bit different from G3 Draculaura, the current generation of Monster High's Draculaura, but I love them both. They're both amazing. So, G1, different recommendation than G3. For G1, I would recommend Gigarella by Ashley Poston. And the reason for this is because I think Draculaura, even in the films, in the web series from Generation 1, is very much romantic. She is a huge romance lover. So I'd recommend a romance book. About a girl who finds her Prince Charming. And that is very much Draculaura. She loves a fairy tale. She loves a happy ending. She's just a sweet, kind girl. Draculaura in G1 is the sweetest, friendliest little princess you could ever find. And I think that is very much suiting for a fairy tale retelling. And especially one like Gigarella, where there is that fandom aspect where she can be like full nerdy and have fun with it. And Draculaura does that as well. She very much nerds out with the ghouls about some stuff. Like boy bands and all this stuff. Their favorite TV shows. So this is something I think Draculaura would really enjoy. So there we go. Now we got G3 Draculaura, so Generation 3 Draculaura here. This is the first doll they made of her. I adore her. She's got a thicker body mold than the others, and she's a lot shorter, so I really enjoy that because Draculaura has always been little in the animated stuff, but they never made her model in the dolls smaller until now. So I really appreciate that. I like the split dye. There is another G3 Draculaura doll that I have. It's the Gorganizer, the one that comes with the big organizer thing. I have it right here. This thing. I have the organizer in my room, but I have a separate area where the dolls are. But that one doesn't have the split dye. She has the pink and black like G1 does and G2. But I really like the whole split dye aspect of G3. It really separates her from the other ones. And if you can't tell, or if you haven't seen the show or anything in reference to G3 Draculaura, they made her Asian. And I really love the representation we're getting in Generation 3. Draculaura is also still daughter of Dracula, but she's also a witch. So I think that's really cool. She's a practicing witch. So with that, with her being a practicing witch, I would recommend Witchlings by Claribel A. Ortega because it is cute, it is fun, it is about witches in training, witches learning, just like Draculaura is in the animated series and throughout the film and everything that we have so far for G3. So I think Draculaura could really relate to the girls of this story. One of them also has pink hair, one has black hair, they're all people of color. Well, not people of color, but they're all different ethnicities. They all have differences that I think Draculaura could somehow relate to. I could kind of see all of the ghouls within these characters. Like, I could see kind of Claudine, maybe this could be Draculaura, bit of Ghoulia, maybe. Like, there's a bit of the ghouls all throughout this story, so I think it'd be really fun for Draculaura to read something about learning witches as well. So, there, G3. So we're going to step out of the core girls for a second, and we're going to go into the second and third characters of the series. Right here I have the Dot Dead Dance. Dot Dead Dance Spectra. I have this one and Picture Day Spectra, but I decided to do this one because I customized the Picture Day Spectra, and her hair is not normal. It's a bit more of a pinky purple because I tried to customize her and it didn't go very well. So she might have a bit of hair dye in. So I picked this Spectra instead. Spectra is honestly one of my favorite of the dolls. I think her design has always been beautiful, but she is not one of my favorite characters in Monster High because Spectra has a tendency to gossip. She runs a blog where she talks about all the goings on in Monster High. She kind of follows people in her spectral form and gets the dirty gossip on them. And there is multiple episodes, there's even parts in movies where there's a little bit of a consequence for Spectra's actions when it comes to her blog and her gossiping. And I think along those lines, we could do this one, which is The Rumor Game by Danielle Clayton and Sonia Caraporta. I'm sorry if I said her name wrong, but this is all about rumors and how they can escalate to severe circumstances. How rumors and gossiping can have bad effects on people. And I think this could teach Spectra a pretty good lesson. A lesson that she does learn throughout the series. But I don't think severely enough as she should, because she continues to do it. I'm sorry that they keep flopping all around. You can probably hear their joints. They're old. They are quite old dolls, so she's a bit flimsy. She's getting a little wobbly. She's getting the old wobbly legs at this point. So I'm sorry if you can hear that, but I've had her since the dolls came out, and I am not an in-box collector, so she does get a little creaky. But there's that for Spectra. Moving on. Alright, next we have my favorite of the ghouls, and that is Venus McFlytrap. She is an eco-terrorist, in all honesty. So I could have also recommended anything Poison Ivy, of course, but I decided to go on a different route for that. But speaking of this particular Venus, she is missing her arm, because I did, in fact, share this doll with my stepsister. Venus was kind of both of our favorite characters, so we kind of played with her quite a lot. That's why she's missing her vine, as well as the lower half of her arm, because my stepsister took her to the playground and lost her arm. Kids were very rough. My stepsister is 3 years younger than me, so when I first started collecting, I was 10, so she would have been 7. So that right there says what was going on. And she also added some nice fine glitter to Venus's face. But I decided that this was the Venus I was going to show because this is the first wave Venus. I have quite a lot of Venuses. She is my favorite. So I collect pretty much every Venus there ever is. And I love her. She's so perfect. So, Venus. For Venus, since she is an activist, since she wants to take care of the Earth, the planet, all the plants and beings on it, I would recommend The Plain Janes by, oh my goodness, Cecil Castellucci, and illustrated by Jim Rugg. I recommend this because this whole story is about the girls doing art to save a park. And I think that Venus would love that. It is all about saving nature. That very much is something Venus does in the series. And I think she'd relate to these characters because Venus also has, once again, activism, but also art as one of her many, many interests. So I think I'd really recommend this to her. And it's also a graphic novel, and I think graphic novels are fun, and I think she'd like it. Moving on. So we're going to go back to the core ghouls for a second here, and we have Claudine. I have the Sweet 1600 Claudine here with her gorgeous, gorgeous outfit. This is honestly probably one of my favorite Claudines. She's definitely in my top 3. But here she is, her gorgeous suit, her beautiful claws. Everything about this Claudine is beautiful. Her hair's getting a little flat. I do have to rewash her hair. But otherwise, she's looking gorgeous. Claudine loves fashion. Claudine loves Draculaura. Claudine loves a lot of things. And Claudine is a badass bitch. Claudine is definitely a boss. Like, she takes her fashion and everything to such an important level to her. It makes everything a business, makes everything that's important to her thrive. And I feel like she has so much passion and a really passionate story that can go with our wonderful queen, Claudine, who is a sapphic god. Confirmed on Twitter by the creator of her as well as Monster High, is that she is a lesbian. So here we are with You Should See Me in a Crown by Lee Johnson. I'm sorry, I always add an A at the end. By Lee Johnson. This story is very empowering. It is about our main character who is kind of in a low income situation, and she wants to win a scholarship by becoming prom queen. And she gets a girlfriend throughout the story, and her girlfriend is very against prom. And it's kind of like this whole tug of war between the girls, but in like a very cute way. Their romance is very adorable. The whole story is adorable, and it's like, when she comes out, like, are people going to even vote for a woman of color, a queer woman of color with a girlfriend to be queen of prom? And the fashion that we hear about in this story is great. The whole story is amazing. It's full of empowered women, and that is very much Claudine. Claudine is women empowerment to the extreme, and this girl right here can bring down the government, I swear to God. And so could the girls in this book. So, yeah. I am holding her with my index finger. In case you're wondering. This, perfect match. So, sticking with the core ghouls for a minute here, we have G3 Frankie. I only have one other Frankie currently. No, 2 other Frankies. I have one G2, which I don't really love, and one G1. But I think I'm gonna go with G3 Frankie because so far, I think G3 Frankie is my favorite out of all of them. Not specifically for looks, but for character. Because G3 Frankie is non-binary. And their explanation for them being non-binary makes so much sense. Frankie says that they are a combination of a bunch of people. As logically, because they are a Frankenstein's monster, which is a creation of a bunch of people's body parts put together and brought to life. So, they are a bunch of genders all at once. So they don't specifically go by one gender. So they are non-binary. And I love that about them. And they also have a prosthetic leg, which I think is very cool. G3 is introducing a lot of amazing representation that we've never had before in any doll line, let alone Monster High. But it is something that we've desperately needed. And Frankie is a very important character to me, as well as a lot of other people. Finally having representation that we need in dolls. It's very important, and this doll means a lot to a lot of young people and a lot of older collectors and people like myself that never saw themselves in dolls because it was always the pretty girls, the pretty skinny happy girls. And with Generation 3 we have finally a plus size character in Draculaura, non-binary and queer representation with Frankie, and it is so important, as well as disability rep. And I can't wait to see what else they do with this series, because I know that we've gotten a lot of representation for other races through Laguna and through Claudine, Cleo. We've gotten so much representation already through G3 in that state, so I can't wait to see where the rest of the generation goes. So far, I'm very excited about it. But enough of the very emotional moment there. For Generation 3 Frankie, I would recommend The One True Me and You by Remy K. England. And the reason for this book is because one of the main characters is non-binary. I have a fair bit of non-binary representation on my shelves, but this book is very much a first-hand of the feelings of coming out as non-binary. And that is very much what we see through Frankie in the beginnings of the series, as well as in the movie, is them coming out. Because they are 16 days old. So they are meeting these people for the very first time and having to explain who they are, what they are, to so many people. And it is a beautiful, beautiful experience. As well as this book is set in a convention, and Frankie is a massive nerd. They love so much stuff. G3 hasn't gotten as much time to shine in that aspect of the nerdiness, but Generation 1 was obsessed with boy bands, obsessed with TV shows, and all of these things, and I think a convention would be a really good place for Frankie. And they're such an outgoing character. I feel like they'd have so much fun meeting all the unique characters that you meet at a convention. I feel like it would just be a blast for them. So yeah, there's Frankie, and here's the book for G3, but also Generation 1 as well. But mainly G3. Next I have Operetta, who is one of my favorite dolls and one of my favorite characters in the series of Generation 1. We haven't seen her in Generation 3 yet. And I don't remember her being in G2, but she might have been. I kind of avoided G2. I was in a phase of being too old for Monster High, and then I've come back to it since then. But when G2 came out, I was very much against it because they de-aged a lot of the series and took away a lot of the representation that really mattered to people, because parents were complaining, like they always do. So, anyways, this is Generation 1 Operetta, and this is the OG Operetta. I have every single doll of Series 1, G1, sorry. Not Series 1. There isn't just a series of Operetta. That would be amazing. But Generation 1 Operetta. I have every single doll of her, but I thought I'd pick her OG because this is how we see her most in most of the movies. Most of the show is like this. Her pants keep coming undone, so I apologize if she flashes anyone. But Operetta, she is our Southern gal, and she is obsessed with music. But she's also very, very strong, very independent. She doesn't need anyone. She really doesn't want anyone to talk to her, to be honest. She just wants to do her own thing, and that's pretty much it. And that kind of vibe, as well as the Western vibe, I feel like she would relate to the gang of the crows in Six of Crows. Um, I'm not saying Operetta is going out gambling or committing crimes or anything, but I feel like she'd like the gang. I feel like she could relate in a weird way to these characters, like kind of we all have. So I feel like the heist, the whole series of Six of Crows could be her thing. As well as probably the rest of the Grishaverse, but specifically this group of ragtag misfits, I feel like could be her favorite serious favorite characters. So then we move on to probably, in my personal opinion, one of the most underrated ghouls in the entire series, and that is Ghoulia. This is probably she's probably in my top 5. I gotta be honest. I love Ghoulia. Ghoulia is the biggest nerd. Ghoulia loves school. She loves math. She loves comic books. She loves superheroes. There's so many books I could have recommended to our Ghoulia. She is me if I am in the Monster High universe. She is edgy. She is a giant nerd. And she just obsesses over so many things and can't talk to people. But for her, that's a completely different thing. So I have, once again, a lot of things that I could have recommended to Ghoulia, but I felt like she would really like Dark Academia books. And what book is better to start a ghoul off with Dark Academia than Babel? Babel is the big daddy of all things Dark Academia, and it has representation. It has that setting that I feel Ghoulia would love. It is a big, heckin' chunky book that I think she could have a fun time reading. I personally haven't read it yet, but with everything that's been said about this book, everything I know about this book, everyone that's read it, I think she would love it. I don't know when her glasses fell, but that was probably my own doing from flinging her around like a lunatic. So, yeah. Moving on before I lose her glasses. Oh, they fell again. So, we talked about Ghoulia, so we have to go on to her bestie, Cleo. I picked specifically to show off my G3 Cleo because we haven't seen too much of her, but I like where they're going with her character. I think it looks really cool. But I'm going to base the personality off what we've seen, as well as G2 and G1. Cleo, which is the Queen Bee, pretty much. She is the Royal Highness of Monster High. She knows she's hot shit, and she's going to make sure you know it too. So I think she'd like to read something about royalty, about money, about class. And I don't have a lot of political fantasy, because personally I just don't read that. But what I do have is this. The selection by Kira Cass. This is probably the cheesiest book I could have picked for this, but it has that. It is a peasant girl, a lower class, middle, I don't remember what class they say she's in, but a lower class woman becoming a queen. And there's a bit of a game aspect that they don't spend enough time with. There's a romance, there's some fun, there's some sass, there's a lot of fashion, because they talk about the dresses quite a lot. And I think Cleo would have a good time with this book, because it's cheesy, it's bad, and it's fun. So yeah, Cleo and the selection. So lastly, I have, honestly, when this doll came out, probably my favorite doll at the time. But Laguna Blue, our beautiful, beautiful ghoul. This is specifically G1. because G3 we haven't gotten enough out of for me to know 100% what her personality has become. We did recently get her song for G3, and it's has definitely changed Laguna's personality quite a bit, but for the better, I believe. Anyways, so G1 Laguna is sporty, she's sassy, she is very much adventurous, and I think I have to go with a very specific series for her, and that is the Heroes of Olympus series, as well as the Percy Jackson series, because I feel Laguna could both connect with the characters as well as the story. She is captain of the swim team. She is sporty, she's beautiful, she's smart, she's all these things that the main characters in the series are. Annabeth, smart as hell, strong, independent, brave. Percy, he's son of Poseidon. What else do we need from that? Blue food. He's covering the water. We have Leo to get the real stupid in there. Just like, Laguna doesn't understand, like, anything of social cues, really. Neither does Abby. And that's why those two are some of my favorite characters. I've been saying that a lot. I love Monster High, but, we got Leo, we got Nico, we got every character all summed up in Laguna in a way. Yeah, so I'd recommend her this series, as well as just how much adventure, how much power, how much strength the whole team has built up throughout this whole series. I think she could relate to. And there. We're gonna end it there. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any recommendations for any Monster High characters, leave them down below. I could have kept going forever, but I specifically chose to bring characters in that I have dolls for. So, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.